guys, so today let's look at some examples of bangs on different body types. When I say body types, I mean kibbe image identities. We have 13 of them. I have a playlist of kibbe's body types or kibbe's image identities. So if you haven't seen this, I'm gonna leave the link down below on different videos that you might be interested in watching first before. We're gonna only discuss how fringe can look on different image identity. Besides all those rules, symmetry beauty standards, besides of that bangs for the face shape, even though I already did this video not so long ago, bangs for your face shape. But today we're gonna talk about head to toe look, about overall bone structure. Let's recall very fast. There are 5 main body types: dramatic, natural, classic, romantic, and gamine. Each and every one of them has a certain yin and yang balance that nature created. So let's see what different kinds of bangs do to those image identities. First, let's talk about dramatic. 100% young, angular, tall, straight, long vertical line women. So the celebrities we're gonna discuss today, they are from official David Kibbe celebrities list. As far as dramatic women, they consist of angles. They are powerful. So if we talk about hair for them, and by the way, for some of you who didn't see, I already had those videos, hair for the body types, image identities, and hair color. So I'm gonna leave the links down below if you wanna check them. There we mostly talk about haircuts in general. Today we're just gonna be a bit more specific. We're gonna talk about bangs, but we basically still use same rules when we describe this or that body type and what fits them. Sleek, sculpted, and geometric look of hair looks best on dramatics. Clean lines look amazing on them. Let's look at Keira Knightley. I think she looks good without bangs and with bangs. Look at that very rich and geometric fringe that she has. I think the fact that that fringe looks pretty heavy and she has kind of heavy and angular bone structure, I think that does fit each other. And at the same time, I like her looks without bangs. That looks very clean. They look amazing and very sleek and sculpted and geometric lines. What they would not look very good in is whether like super coiffé, puffy, rounded, kind of super feminine-ish. The angularity will show up more. Or something super wispy. Some light feathers by the face. As far as the visual weight of their face is slightly on the heavier side. They are too strong for the wispy feathers by the face. So that kind of wispy hair doesn't support the bone structure as good. And many dramatics actually, they forget about their gorgeous nature and they try to soften their features by highlights, feathers by the face. It can also look nice, but it just looks slightly separate from the face itself. They are trying to hide it, but they get an opposite effect because it plays as a contrast. Linda Evangelista, very beautiful dramatic model. These women look pretty straight and tall, but they have narrow vertical line. So again, we can see how beautiful she looks with that sleek hairstyle with very dramatic straight bangs. Here too, remember, like she was the model of the 90s. So in the 90s, that short haircut, that was very, very trendy. What looks cool here, I think, is the contrasted color and the richness of it. So it looks heavy, like that fringe looks heavy. That's her without bangs. Or maybe side swept, like big side swept. What we see here, again, sleek, sculpted and geometric. And very good contrast with the skin color. That is a short bangs. I know not everybody dares to do such a short bangs because it depends on different things. In my video bangs for the face shape, I talk about the proportions of the faces and how you can predict if you're gonna look good with shorter bangs. It also depends on the parts of your face, but in her case, yeah, I think that looks cool. Here we can see also that straight bangs. She still looks very chic with that bangs. That's her later with some highlights and some wispiness, so is here also. So we can see here some attempt to soften the features. That side swept, no geometric lines. You don't see any frame here, right? It's slightly grown fringe, highlights around the face, some layering on the sides here. Next dramatic we're gonna talk about is Milla Jovovich. So here on that part, I'm gonna place the pictures of her wearing the dramatic lines around her face. And here we're gonna see some wispy examples. Something that is not quite angular, not heavy, not very sleek, not very geometric. Here's more 90s, right? So in the 90s we kind of liked those layered haircuts and stuff. Color of the hair also matters, of course. Makeup also matters. Earrings also matters. It can change everything. But we already can see that this look is slightly more powerful and precise. Also, it's hard to see this on the pictures. If you ever watch movies with those actresses, just have a look on the way they talk, on the way they walk, on their gestures, on the way how their lips moving when they talk. All that matters a lot. Picture is such a frozen thing. It never will compare to person in real life. But when we talk about kibbe image identities, of course we talk about your genuine things, those beautiful things that you were born with. Olivia Culpo, so we can see her with more angular bangs here, and with slightly wispy and tousled hair a la naturals. You can decide what you like better. From my opinion, both look cool, but this looks slightly a bit more powerful and less like everybody else. And you can also notice that this bangs is slightly shorter than the brows, and the chic doesn't disappear. You know, on some people, on some faces, on some women, as soon as they make their fringe a little bit above the brows, like girly fringe, their chic disappears. They look too simple. Sometimes they say, I feel so stupid, it gave me such a stupid look. So see, with dramatic women, even that shorter fringe doesn't take away that chic. Last dramatic we're gonna talk about today is Ruby Rose. She loves that angular look. She's boyish in general. She likes short haircut. Sometimes she wears it without any bangs. Sometimes she has that very heavy fringe and no temples on the sides, with very contrasted hair color, which gives her that dramatic look and make her very light eyes pop. That's her with slightly wispy bangs. Still nice, but I think it washes off some power of her face, as if her face is lacking that frame now. Dramatic has its softer version, soft dramatic. These women look very feminine. They also have long vertical line. They look tall, they have longer bones, but they have curves and soft flash. They have prominent facial features and they look very feminine. So for soft dramatics, David Kibbe suggests lavish and full looking hair, shape geometric or asymmetric, but softened with curls and sensual and not stiff. Basically feminine, full, voluminous. First of all, let's look at Christina Hendricks. She is a soft dramatic of kibbe. Let's look at her with no bangs. Nice, full, voluminous hair that suits her so much. Now in this picture, she has that 60s long curtain bangs, which looks amazing, I think, on her. Because the most important thing that we're striving here is the lines. It's full, it's rounded, softened, and it's not too light and wispy. It's still looking heavy. That's what we need. So for this lady's wash and wear style can look slightly undone, unfinished looking. And also when they wear something very sharp and geometric, like for dramatics, no, they're not that dry, they're juicy, you know, so they need something rounder, juicier, kind of repeating the lines of their bodies and of their faces. So something more sensual would fit them more. So here she has that shorter bangs, still curly. This haircut is slightly more for naturals, I would say, rather than for soft dramatic, because it looks slightly undone to me, but still I think the fact that it's curly and rounded, I think that looks very nice on her. Here also, like for naturals, slightly kind of undone hair. Here we can see rich bangs on her. It's pretty geometric here, but the fact that it's slightly rounded, it goes very nice with that voluminous rest of the hair, so I think that looks very beautiful. Here we also can see rounded bangs, and I think it looks gorgeous on her. So here we can see her with that shorter bangs. It is on the side and it's slightly rounded, so I think as far as we are following the lines of the body, we are good. Doesn't matter what length that is. You see, so she doesn't try to look like a little girl in this case. It does look very feminine still, because of the way she dressed it. Let's look at her with wispy styles. So here she has that very girly bangs. The fact that it's not rounded and it's slightly wispy and it's kind of sticking out on her forehead a little bit like that, so that doesn't quite go along with the rest of the body, so it looks slightly separate. The rest of the hair looks more suited to her body than those sticking parts. Also here she doesn't have that much volume that she normally wears. Also that wispy and pretty flat bangs that doesn't have enough air in it. If we could add a little bit of more hair into that, that would be awesome, I think. It's just not enough weight, I think, here. Same as here. Here is more like undone look. It's like wash and wear style, as if she just combed that. Also that wispiness. So I think if she would make that wispiness kind of all together with the rest of the hair, with just one movement of the fingers, I think that would just resolve everything. Rachel Weisz, again, looks beautiful without bangs, first of all, with that slightly voluminous, slightly rounded hair. Here she is in her younger age. Look at that sensual curly bangs. You know, guys, how much I love curly bangs, right? Here we also can see how sensual her long bangs are with those rounded curves. Same here, rich bangs, heavy but rounded, so that heavy bone structure is very balanced with the same weight of hair. That's again her with no bangs. Look how beautiful, how clean the lines are. I found several pictures of her like back in the day, probably again 90s. She was experimenting with slightly boyish haircuts, so I'm gonna show you straight and slightly wispy bangs and shorter haircut on the back. So you can just compare, just see if that really supports her bone structure. And here she is wearing that bob with short and wispy bangs. And here she has that shortened bangs curved like that. And straight geometric bob. I can tell you that if she had curves here on her bangs and here, if she curled that bangs, that would look like pin-up curls also. Which is actually pretty feminine and rounded and very like puffy and cute looking, so that would also fit, I think. And of course, soft dramatic Sophia Loren. She always knows her style. You can see how always full and sensual her hair is, and it doesn't matter again what is even the length of her bangs. She was wearing bangs from time to time. The length of the bangs was different. It was shorter, it was longer. But every time she was trying to make them slightly curvy, slightly rounded, maybe underneath or rounded to a side. And you can see how differently the whole look turned to be. That's her with no bangs. Gorgeous. Still a lot of volume on her hair. That's her with short hair. Kind of a bob, right? But look at the lines. Look at the richness of the hair, first of all. No wispiness. Very sleek, very tidy and rounded and full line by the face. How well that is repeating her bone structure, her cheekbones. Here as well, brow length. Amazing, because it's rounded and rich. Even though it's geometric and straight, it's rounded and rich. Here we can see her with shorter bangs. Now, you might say they're slightly wispy. Yeah, but what's good here is the rest of the hair is rounded, it has some air in it, it's pretty tidy, and the fringe is slightly rounded. You can see this by the light reflection right in the center of the fringe. So that shows us that the fringe is not lying on her forehead as if it's just like a super flat, like 5-year-old girl, you know. Here in this case it has some air, it has some roundness. Now let's look at her wearing something unusual. Here she's wearing a wig. What is plus here? It has several pluses and minuses. Plus is that it's rich, it's geometric, it has volume, and it has very contrasted color. And the minus is basically it's very straight. It's more for dramatics, and soft dramatics, they consist of curves. So it's asking for curling a little bit. But anyway, that's a wig, so it's kind of like experimentation for the photo. And it has that very beautiful and contrasted effect actually also with makeup and with light. As soon as she would go like that outside, you would immediately see how different the whole body looks in that type of wig. It would look totally separate from her. And here she's wearing that very short haircut, gamine-ish haircut. So you can see how different that is from the bone structure that she has.